If this is your first time visiting the channel, make sure you smash that subscribe button and hit that notifications bell. That way you know when I post my videos. And don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you like the content on the channel. Before we get started, I just want to say, if you haven't seen the movie, I suggest you click and watch one of my other videos, because now is the time we're going to talk Avengers Endgame. And I mean spoilers. 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 Let's talk about it.
We still have one promise to keep. If we can't protect the Earth, you can be damn sure we'll avenge it. Whatever it takes.
Well, I don't even know exactly where to start off. Before we get started, I want to say this is not going to be in, I guess, chronological order at all, from beginning of the movie to the middle to the end. It's not going to be like that. This spoiler review is going to be all over the place. So don't get mad at me if I do not follow everything in exact order. But let's start off with the beginning of the movie. We start off with Tony and Nebula. They are on the Guardians of the Galaxy ship, which is called the Benatar, if I'm not mistaken. And you basically get Tony and Nebula bonding in a way, in some shape or form. They're playing like, they're playing with a little piece of paper. They plucking it and they're trying to get it over the field goal. I forgot what that game is called. If y'all guys remember what the name of that game is, put it down in the comments or something and refresh my memory. But they're bonding together and they're trying to, I guess, learn from each other, because they've been on this ship for quite some time now. And Tony is basically, he looks drained, he's tired. Nebula is, you know, she's like half humanoid, half robot, so she doesn't really need food like that or anything like that to keep herself, I guess, in shape, or to keep herself from dying or anything like that, or starvation. Tony, however, he's a human being. Somewhat, some people would like to consider Tony as a robot as well, but Tony's not a robot. Let's just throw that out there. But he is suffering from starvation and depression and grief, and he has a lot on his mind at this time. And Tony and Nebula are basically trying to figure out what they can do to keep the ship from falling apart and for them from drifting off into space. So him and Nebula have been working together, putting the fuel cell back together to give them a couple of days to survive in space before their oxygen runs out. Right before Tony seems to, I guess, he sends a message to Pepper, as we saw in the trailer. He sent a message to Pepper stating that he's running out of food, oxygen, and water. He only has like a couple of days left before he dies, and he just want to tell Pepper that he loves her. And we get more of that within the very first beginning of the movie. And Tony happens, I guess he's going to sleep, and he's sleeping in the cockpit of the Benatar, and then all of a sudden he sees like this orange, yellowish red glow that's waking him up in the middle of his sleep. And it turns out it's Carol Danvers, it's Captain Marvel. She's like right there at the center console of the ship, and she's smiling at him, and Tony's just like in a daze. He's like looking like this, like, because it's so bright. She's giving off that quantum energy that she has, or that cosmic energy, that you will, that she has. And she wakes him up, and she comes back to Earth. They arrive back at Avengers headquarters, and this is where we get Cap and Black Widow, and we get everybody else who was basically at the base. Bruce Banner, all of them are there, trying to figure out what is going on with Thanos, where Thanos is. And when Tony gets back, he is like, he's devastated. Like I said, he's in a mindset where he has lost. He doesn't know what to do. Him and Cap are still not on good terms, okay? Because let's remember, they still got some baggage between both Cap and Tony. And Tony's just out of it right now. So they're trying to figure out what's going on, why Thanos used the stones again. And Rocket explains that when Thanos used the stones to make that snap, there was no energy, nothing like that ever on the planet that has had that much power before or generated that power before until a couple of days ago. And apparently Thanos used the gauntlet again. They don't know why. So they decide to go to Thanos' second homeworld that he created. I guess Titan 2. And Carol Danvers she is very cocky. She's in the trailer that we get that little clip where her and Thor are doing the face off, and Thor grabs his axe, Stormbreaker, and it comes back to her, and I guess they go on the ship. They have a couple of funny moments where Rocket is basically asking them like who has been on the ship before or who has been in space, and both Cap and Black Widow raise their hands, and Rocket makes this smart remark like, hey, like, you know, don't throw up on my ship, which was pretty funny. And they go off to try to figure out what's going on. So they go all the way to Titan. Captain Marvel goes down to the planet to check to see if there's any other life, any other planetary defenses, anything like that. So she does a recon, and it's just Thanos. He's the only one that's on that planet. He's just there by himself, farming, retired, just staying in the farm. Kind of like what you would see an old man would do on a farm. That's what he's doing. He has accomplished what he said he wanted to accomplish, and he's just sitting there, just having a good time. So what ends up happening is they just bombard. It's just the way Captain Marvel, she gave 0 fucks. Like, she just bombarded his house, blasts him in the face, and they all just rush in and ambush on Thanos, and they're all asking him, what did you do? Where's the stones? Because the stones are no longer in the gauntlet. I guess he tried to do something to destroy the stones. But man, he was upset. Like, he was really upset with them. And he is very weakened at this point. He is very weak. Like, he's still a strong being, okay, given that Thanos is some people would consider him an Eternal or either a Titan, but anyway, he was a very strong being, and he was already weak from using the Infinity Stones the first time. Well, apparently he took the gauntlet and he snapped his fingers again to destroy the stones. So the stones are gone, and there's nothing he can do to bring them back. So the stones are all gone, and the rest of the remaining Avengers, they are very upset, especially Thor. Thor is having some real grief, and he's feeling very disappointed in himself because he didn't went for the head. So as Thanos is monologuing and talking, they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. Thanos is monologuing, saying, "I've won. There's nothing you can do. Just live with the fact, move on, all this other type of stuff." And Thor just takes Stormbreaker and he just decapitates Thanos' head, and he dies. Like, that's it. Thanos is killed off within the first segment of the movie. And then that's when a roll title in and everything else like that has Avengers Endgame. And then we get a scene where there's Cap is basically doing like some counseling, kind of like what Falcon with Sam Wilson was doing before they got snapped in Winter Soldier. I think you remember Sam was explaining to him that when he was on a mission, he lost someone, so he decided to do counseling to help other people out. Well, Cap decided to take on Sam's old job to talk to people about moving on, grieving, mourning, and trying to cope with what you got in the world to I guess make a better place or perfect your life in some type of shape or form. But anyway, Cap is doing that. And after he gets done with that, he goes to see Natasha, Black Widow, and Black Widow is grieving. She's feeling very upset because this is like 5 years later. Because in the beginning, she has like the blonde hair and all that type of stuff, but it skips 5 years ahead. So 5 years time jumps, and they're basically sitting at this table. And they're all holograms, if that makes any sense. They're just holograms of all the Avengers. They're scattered all over the world. Captain Marvel She shows up. Her hair is short, so Carol Danvers has the short haircut now. She doesn't have the long hair anymore. I think she looks good either way. She looks absolutely gorgeous either way. But her hair is now short. And you got Okoye from Black Panther from the Dora Milaje. You got Rocket, and you got Rhodey, and they're all just scattered all over the planet, just doing some recon and trying to help out. Because, I mean, like I said, half of the universe has been snapped and has been decimated. There's only half of the people left in the universe. So Captain Marvel is not on Earth. She is farther away, and she also explains that she's going to be away for a while. She's going to be away quite some time because she's trying to figure out what's going on in the rest of the galaxy. Now, here is the most awesome part of the movie, and this is a cameo debut, okay, in words, verbally, not physically, so the person does not show up. But Okoye, okay, is mentioning that they are having some trouble in Wakanda. This might set up a plot for Black Panther 2. But apparently, Okoye says that they're having some issues and trouble in Wakanda, where they're having some they're having an underwater earthquake under Wakanda, and they simply asked, what do they do about it? And I don't know if it was Black Widow or if it was Okoye, but they said it's an underwater earthquake. We do nothing about it. So I'm thinking that they already know who Namor is. Okay. I think they know what's going on. I think Okoye and them are already dealing with the fact that Namor has already bombarded Wakanda. T'Challa already is not there, so they're trying to figure out what's going on with that. So whoever is sitting on the throne in Wakanda, they're dealing with those problems. But apparently they're having underwater earthquakes, and it's not good. Like they're having some serious problems, and I'm thinking Namor has some type of role into that underwater earthquake. Marvel's not going to just mention certain things like that without, you know what I'm saying, without actually having something to set up behind it. So I'm thinking in Black Panther 2, we're gonna get an explanation for that. I think we're gonna get Namor. I think we're gonna get the Wakandans versus the Atlanteans in an ancient civilization versus an ancient civilization. I think that's going to be a great plot for Black Panther 2 to set up for the next phase, for phase 4. After that, the story just goes on. Like it starts off a little slow. Some people would say it starts off a little slow, but I think it's great because even the dialogue, you're sitting on the edge of your seat trying to figure out what's going to happen next, or who's about to show up next, who's about to pop up next. So we get Ant-Man. Ant-Man pops up. He comes out of the quantum realm. A lot of people are wondering how he gets out of the quantum realm. Well, he just happens to fall out of the quantum realm. He falls into a time vortex, comes out. For him, he was in there for only a couple of moments. And then when he comes out, he sees that he's like 5 years into the future. And everything is pretty much gone. He goes by his old neighborhood. Nobody's there. This kid rolls by. He asks what's going on. I guess the kid kind of gives him a rundown on Thanos and all this other stuff that has happened. And he goes visit his house. He runs into Cassie. And Cassie is a teenager now. She's older. And I almost cried, guys, just seeing that scene, because he sees his daughter. She's older. She's bigger. And they hug each other for the first time, because she hasn't seen him in basically 5 years, and he hasn't seen her like for a couple of moments. So he doesn't know what's going on. So he went from seeing Cassie as being this little girl for like maybe a couple of hours, and then now she's just like a teenager. And he's like, oh my God, like I just missed 5 years of my daughter's life, because apparently he's been missing for 5 years. So you can imagine the effect on Cassie. We also get an opening scene where Hawkeye is training his daughter, and she's practicing with the bow and arrow, and she hits the target right, like dead on. Like she's just as good as her dad, as Barton is training his daughter. And then out of nowhere, the snap happens. he basically loses his family. This is how Clint becomes Ronin. Since he lost his family, he has no one else, nothing else is going on. That's when he goes on a killing spree, killing all the criminals who have survived the snap. That's the only thing that's keeping him sane from losing his mind. He felt like he lost everything else, so he's trying to rid the world of criminals who have not survived the snap. And this calls back to the scene where Black Widow is sitting at the table and she's talking to all the other Avengers all over the world. Rhodey basically says that Hawkeye has been to Mexico, and the scene that he left there was horrible. Like, he killed people, like, I'm talking about hands, heads, like a bloody scene. He is not the Hawkeye that we know now. He is turned into Ronin. He has tattoos. He has like this cool mohawk. And Natasha goes and goes saves him and to recruit him and bring him back to the headquarters. Another cool scene that happens is we actually get to see Professor Hulk. And we don't get to see him turn into Professor Hulk, but Bruce actually explains that him and the Hulk have finally come to an agreement where they can work together. Like, their minds and everything, they work together. They are, he's more lethal and dangerous now, considering the fact that he has the mind of Bruce Banner, but he has the body of the Hulk. And I guess both of them figured that now is the time that they need to come together instead of fighting against each other. He was trying to treat the Hulk as a disease, as some type of entity that doesn't need to be in his body. But he accepted the Hulk as a blessing, and now the Hulk accepts him, and they're pretty much one and the same. So now he can use the Hulk, and the Hulk can use him on a mutual understanding mentally, and then that's how you get the Professor Hulk. So Bruce and Hulk are now one. And it's pretty cool seeing how he is. Like, he looks more like Mark Ruffalo now, and not really like a beast or an animal. He really looks like Mark Ruffalo in the face, and he has the body of the Hulk, which looks pretty cool. He is recruited to try to figure out time travel. We skip to another scene where Cap and Black Widow and I think it's Rhodey, if I'm not mistaken, or Rocket, whoever, but they go to Tony's house. Tony has a daughter, okay? They named her Morgan, exactly as they mentioned in Infinity War. And Tony and Pepper are living peacefully away from everybody else. They don't have a lot of technology in their home. They live like on this nice lake in a nice little cabin house. It looks beautiful. He looks peaceful. And then Cap comes to ask him, Captain America comes to ask him and say, hey, look, Tony, we need you. We need you to try to figure out this time travel thing. And Ant-Man is there as well. And Tony's looking at him like, are you really basing our future or a chance on Back to the Future movies and time travel? And Ant-Man is like, yeah. And Tony's like, I'm sorry, I can't help you. It's not going to work. But knowing Tony, he is a genius. He likes to work. He likes to figure and solve riddles. So later on that night, he is working on time travel devices for the wrists. The little devices that you see that they got wrapped around their wrists and on their hands. He works on it, and he cracks the code. And he tells Pepper, he's like, oh my God, I figured it out, time travel. And maybe we can get a second chance out of this. And he decides to do it, so he goes back and tells Cap that they're going to do this, that they're going to fix it. But at the same time, he doesn't want to lose what he has now. He wants to be able to fix the past and fix what needs to be fixed, but without losing marrying Pepper, having his daughter Morgan, and everything else like that. So he joins the Avengers again. Guys, this is where it gets crazy. They go into the quantum realm, they go time travel into different time vortexes, and then they ended up in 2012 Avengers. They ended up in that movie. They ended up there. They're fighting each other. They're fighting themselves is what basically happens. The Tesseract gets, oh my God, they get the Tesseract, but what ends up happening, Tony loses the Tesseract. So the timeline gets all screwed up. So they have to go to another timeline where the Tesseract is. And Bruce actually goes see the Ancient One, where Doctor Strange is not the Sorcerer Supreme yet. He's still a surgeon doing surgery. And he goes to the Ancient One to tell the Ancient One to convince the Ancient One that they need the Time Stone. The Ancient One was not going to give the Time Stone to Bruce Banner until she felt until she realizes that maybe she's the one making a mistake by not giving the time stone to Bruce Banner. And that's when they figured everything out. The Tesseract was supposed to go back with Tony and Cap and the rest of them, but Tony ends up dropping the Tesseract. It ends up with Loki. Yes, Loki in the past. This is how Loki may just come back, guys. The at the end of the very first Avengers movie, they're getting Loki and they're going to Asgard. Well, the Tesseract gets knocked out of Tony's hands. It lands at the feet of Loki, and Loki takes the Tesseract to a whole nother location. Where does he go? We don't know. But Loki's gone. So that creates a whole nother alternate reality for Loki and where he can go to. That might end up in like the whole Disney streaming service with that Loki television show. I'm trying to think what else happened here. We get a lot of other references to other characters, you know, like they talk about Peter, they talk about Doctor Strange, they talk about all the other characters that they're trying to get back. When they go to Morag, it gets complicating because it's kind of funny seeing how the other characters react in the movie. You get Peter Quill dancing around on Morag when he was trying to collect the Power Stone. What ends up happening there is, and this is where it gets bad, because Nebula, since Nebula went back in the past, and she's part computer, part machine, her brain works on a server. So that server, when she went back in the past, it was like a paradox that happened, and the server linked with the bad Nebula during that time, because Nebula was evil, and so was Gamora. So during that time, her server linked with her past self. And when it linked, those video footages showed, and Thanos saw them from the past. So Thanos in 2014 saw what the Avengers were doing, and he said, oh, this is me in the future. This is what happens. I win. I defeat them. I get what I want. And now he found out that his Nebula betrayed him, is in the past trying to undo things. So he tells the evil Nebula in that time to, I don't know, somehow prove herself to make sure that she's not lying. So they capture the good Nebula in our time, capture that Nebula, and then out of nowhere, like she goes back they go back to the present, and they're thinking the Nebula with them is the good Nebula, and it's not the good Nebula, it's actually the bad Nebula. And she brings Thanos' ship out of the quantum realm, out of the time vortex, and now the Thanos from 2014 is in present day. So now they got a younger, stronger Thanos after them, and he has this big axe, weapon, sword, and he's fucking shit up. He's literally just wiping the floor with all the Avengers right now. They're really giving him a run for his money, and he's just sitting there cool, calm, and collected after everything is done. Like when he shows up, he's just sitting there, just chilling, having a good time, not doing nothing. And then I don't know what happened. Like it got to the point where where Thanos got into the fight with everyone else. That's when the Outriders and the Black Order, all of them came in. Before the battle even happens, and this is why I cried, because a lot of y'all guys want to know who dies. Black Widow dies. And the way she died was very, very, very sad, because her and Barton are trying to figure out who's going to make the sacrifice for the Soul Stone. And Clint is basically telling him, like, hey, look, it needs to be me. You know what I've become. You know what I've done. I killed all these people, blah, 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 blah. And Black Widow's like, hey, I killed all these people too. But he's making it seem like, hey, I need to be the one to do this, not you. But what we don't understand, if you understand this, Natasha doesn't really have family. We don't even know who really her real family is. We don't know if she's, adopted or what. So what ends up happening is they running off the cliff, and Ronan jumps off, okay? And Black Widow takes her stun gun, grapples onto the ledge, and she saves Barton. But what ends up happening is she gets caught on, and they're holding on to each other's hands, and she's just saying, "Let go, just let go." And at that moment, I'm like, "No, no, 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 no! Don't do it! Please don't die! Please don't let go!" And she falls. She falls to her death, and you literally see her head bust open. The blood is on the back. The same way Gamora fell was the way she fell. And guys, I cried. I cried my ass off when I saw that, because that was a struggle between those two trying to sacrifice themselves to get that stone. Hence the theme of this movie, whatever it takes. And the fact that she sacrificed herself and they can't get her back. And the thing is, the Hulk gets the gauntlet. Tony creates another gauntlet, an infinity gauntlet that can hold the stones. And when they finally get the stones back, when they get back and they finally get the stones, the Hulk tries to snap his fingers and wish everyone back. He tries to wish back Black Widow as well, but he can't. He said for some reason the properties of the Soul Stone, the way the rule works is if that person's soul has been taken for that stone, they can't be brought back. So Black Widow is gone for good unless they go in time travel and bring her back somehow. And then that's when the fight happens. Cap, let me tell you something about Cap, guys. Cap was absolutely amazing. He was just absolutely awesome. I've never seen Cap just doing what he does best. He was whooping some ass in this movie. And in the big three, you get Iron Man, you get Thor, and you get Cap. The Russos, I would tell you this, the Russos does an incredible job displaying how these characters are. This is the Thor we've been waiting for, the Thor that we've always wanted to see. We literally get to see Thor hold both his hammer. He gets to hold Ymir, and he gets to hold Stormbreaker. And he has both his hammers in his hand, dual wield, and he's fighting Thanos. And I mean, he's sliding, he's thrashing, he's throwing, he's catching. Lightning is all over the place. He is literally the god of thunder in this movie. This is what we've been waiting for. His beard is all nice and trimmed, and he has it like braided. It looks cool. He has like this long hair. He looks badass. Like he really was whooping Thanos' ass. But then Thanos got the best of him, and like that's when Cap had to step in, and Cap is fighting. Cap's doing his thing. He was real agile in this movie. Like Cap was A game in this movie. But Thanos got the best of him too. And then Tony's fighting. And then all of a sudden, they all get their asses whooped. So what ends up happening is, since they brought everybody back, right? Doctor Strange, from out of that, I guess, universe, he used his magic. They gathered everybody from all the sanctums all over the world. They brought back every soul you can think for this battle. So you got everybody from the Sanctum Sanctorums all the way from Hong Kong to New York. The one that's all the way in, I forgot where it is. I know there's one in Hong Kong and New York and there's somewhere else. But they got them everywhere. Everybody comes back. And then you got all the other Avengers. Like you hear Sam Wilson, Falcon, talking in Cap's ear. Because you get a beautiful shot of both Cap and Thanos. Like Cap is standing in the distance and you see like light in the background, and then you see darkness, and Thanos is bringing the Black Order and the army, and then all of a sudden it's just dead silence, and you hear Sam Wilson on Cap's intercom saying, "Hey Cap, on your left." And then you see Black Panther walk out of the freaking tunnel, out of the sling ring that Doctor Strange does, the little sling ring. He walks out of it. You hear his theme, right? And you get Okoye and everybody else. Falcon comes flying out. And you get all these other people, and it's just a big open shot, a wide shot of both Spider-Man and the Guardians of the Galaxy and Nova Corps. Just everybody was there. It was just that crazy. Like, man, it was the most epic thing I've ever seen in any movie. When I say this movie is the best movie in cinematic history ever, I honestly believe that. That is a fact. And I guarantee you critics all over the planet I guarantee you they will give that statement to that movie. They will stamp that statement to that movie. I predict it and I call it first. I guarantee you that's what they're going to do. And so when the battle ends, this is the sad part. Another Avenger had to die. And the Russos wanted to make sure that there is some depth to this movie. one of the core members have to die. What ends up happening is Tony is completely out of it. The way Robert Downey Jr. portrayed the acting in this scene, he is literally he's out of it. He's looking all over the place. Pepper is trying to get him to focus. Half of his face is disintegrated because of the Infinity Gauntlet, the power. Spider-Man is trying to talk to him, say, Mr. Stark, we won, and Tony's just he's not all there, mentally there. The Infinity Stones mentally messed him up, and Tony's just dying. He's there dying, and Pepper is basically told him to say, hey Tony, it's okay. We're gonna be okay. We won. You can rest now. Is basically what she said, and Tony dies. They cut to a scene where there's the funeral. They have everybody shows up, all the Avengers, even General Ross, he's there, Captain Marvel, everybody, Nick Fury, he's there as well, and they're all paying their respects to Tony. And we get another scene where after the funeral and everything is over, and like I said, I cried like 5 times out of this movie. It's just crazy. And then we get another scene at the very end of the movie. Cap goes back into the past to return the stones. Professor Hulk is telling him like, hey, you need to go back to the past, return the stones so everything can be fine, so there won't be no discrepancies later on in the past. So Cap goes and returns the stones. He was supposed to come back in like 5 or 10 seconds. He didn't come back until like 20 seconds. So when he comes back, he's sitting out on the bench. Well, if you look closely, he has gray hair. And the camera pans around, and Sam Wilson goes over to him, because it's Hulk, Bucky, and Sam. They told Sam to go over there and talk to him. And Cap is an old man. He's old man Rogers now, and he went back in the past, stayed in the past with Peggy, and lived a very fruitful life with her. Got married. I don't know if they had kids or not or what. And he comes back to present day because she done passed away and died and everything. So he's now old man Steve. Where does he go in the MCU after this? I don't know. Maybe he could still be the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. because I remember he becomes a director in the comic books until he touched the Tesseract and he gets rejuvenated back to his younger self. I don't know what Marvel plans on doing with that. Maybe later on in the future, who knows. But he gives Sam his shield. And he asks Sam, he looks at Sam, he says, try it on. And Sam says, okay, it doesn't feel like it's my shield. And Cap says, you should make it your shield. And Sam becomes the new Captain America. So we're going to see a lot of the adaptations from the comics come into play with the actual movie now. And that was pretty much the end of the movie. And that Tony basically gives a narration, because at the end he gives a narration of, you have a beginning, you have a middle, and you have an end. And that this is not the end, this is just the beginning of something even greater. So imagine, guys, Marvel is going to have phase 4, 5, and 6 after this to start a whole nother saga, and hopefully another saga after that. So I'm excited. A lot of people are wondering the end credit scenes. There was no end credit scenes. There were 3 clanks of the sound of Iron Man's armor when Tony was in the cave. You hear 3 clanks. And no one understands what that means, but that might mean that they may be a new Iron Man on the horizon. It might be his daughter Morgan. It might be someone else. Might be Pepper. Might be, who knows. We might find somebody else from the comics to take up the mantle as Iron Man. But that's my spoiler for Avengers Endgame. I will be doing a live stream to this later on, either tonight or tomorrow or whenever. Just in case if I miss something, y'all guys can go over it with me, because I want to see in the comments what y'all guys may have seen or something like that. I might not have touched on something, and y'all guys might want to mention it to me. So I will be doing a live stream as well on Avengers Endgame spoilers. That way I can interact with you guys and everything else. Also, stay tuned for my Sonic the Hedgehog trailer reaction. I plan on doing that as well. And make sure you guys to subscribe and hit that notifications bell if y'all guys haven't haven't done that already, and make sure you thumbs up this video if you like it. As I said before, guys, Avengers Endgame, best cinematic movie in history ever. If you haven't seen it, definitely go see it. I gave this movie a 20 out of 10. That's how great this movie was. But anyway, guys, this is another episode of the Heroes Vote. Thank you for watching my Moto6Andy channel. Thank you for watching my official 803 TV channel. And I catch y'all guys next time. Avengers Assemble.